what the F is an air source heat pump.
Pocket guide, I'm one of the collaborators.
Then we could create reputational damage. Having a certificate doesn't mean you're competent.
Sales, engineers, end users, marketing department.
How the hell are these things going to work up here?
Welcome to the UK series.
Hello and welcome to part of our UK series podcast. My name is Mario Dodic. I'm heat pump trainer and founder of HVAC Education Hub, where we talk about heat pumps. Today we are in Edinburgh in Scotland and my guest is Ian Edgeworth. Ian is heat pump trainer, author of 2 books about heat pumps and very good friend of mine. So in today's podcast we will cover all things related to training and education. Ian, welcome.
Good to be here, mate.
Ian is author of 2 books and a lot of other things, so can you explain a little bit more background?
My background, you often hear in the UK that people found their calling in the building trade. You'll hear people say, well, I was destined to be a joiner because my dad was a joiner and his dad was a joiner, and I've always been good with my hands, so it was natural for me to move into the building industry. It wasn't like that for me. I was dragged into it kicking and screaming. Like most 16, 17 year olds, I didn't have a big idea of what I wanted to do when I left school. Initially, plan A was to go into art school, Glasgow School of Art. I was pushed by my art teacher. I was planning on doing graphic design. God knows what I was going to do when I left university, but that was the path for me. And then one fateful night, my neighbour, who had his own plumbing and heating business, chapped my mum's door and said, "Isabel, I'm going to take on an apprentice. Do you think Ian would be interested?" And she said, yes, he would. So I didn't have a choice in the matter. It was just, yes, you're going to become a heating engineer. Started off, I had no idea what a heating engineer did. I started my first year apprenticeship about 3 months later than the rest of my class, so I was late even going into college. But it was an industry that just kind of clicked for me. I managed to achieve Apprentice of the Year each year, even though I was behind in my first year. And yeah, I've been in the industry ever since. I've always had a passion for sharing knowledge. I don't know where that comes from. Not that I've got a lot of knowledge, but the little that I do. There was a spark in me to get into education and start to try and return some of the reward that the industry gave me. So I was lucky enough to work for a training centre just outside Glasgow. They gave me an opportunity about 10 years ago. One of the probably the most revered training centres in the UK at the time. And then about 3 years ago moved into a new bespoke academy I kind of built from scratch along with my wife. And it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago that I had a crazy notion that I wanted to write a book. I've always been quite creative with the training material that I put together, the workbooks that I create and stuff like that, but I go back to the fact that it was a crazy idea. It was just one at the back of my head, and then yeah, about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago, I decided to get serious, and that's where the first book, which is conveniently here, the welcome book, was introduced, and then about 6 weeks ago we released the second, the pocket guide, and here I am.
Just a quick reminder, new online educational heat pump platform is available. It is interactive, mobile friendly and ready to use from your PC, tablet or mobile phone. You can find a lot of videos, assessments and interactive elements. Link is in a description below. You are the, as you explained, author of 2 books. On first one I was honored to give part of the review. On the second one, this pocket guide, I'm one of the collaborators. Also big honor for me. Probably the only person out of the UK, but I'm part of the UK community, so it's not a problem.
Yes, I think you're welcomed as one of us in the UK. I said that recently. Well, I think the first time we spoke was a good 2 years ago.
That's something like that.
Yeah, it's at the time what I was looking to do was start to reach out to trainers and educators, not just across the UK but wider. The idea was to start a collaboration, believe it or not, of people that were obviously trying to push the boundaries of training, using new techniques, and try and really pick their brains. And I think we had our first Teams call, it must have been 2.5 years ago.
Like that, probably, yeah.
And obviously I was aware of you online through social media, and it was obvious from the first chat we've had, because we have quite a lot of chats, you know, that we were very, very like-minded in what we're trying to do, perhaps doing two different things, but I think there's a lot of synergy there. And it was obvious that you were one of the first persons that I wanted to have a look at the first book, and then it was a no-brainer to get you involved with the pocket guide.
Yes, it was an honor for me from your part, so you invited me, but also another collaborator. So can you speak a little bit more about other guys who are really well-known guys in the industry?
Yeah, I called the first book an Ian Edgeworth concept, and the concept was a book that was a bit different, hopefully, to the types that were out there and readily available. With the pocket guide was another concept that was intended to be very, very simple in its format. The idea was to create almost a flip book, just useful equations, algebra, etc., that could assist apprentices and those looking to upskill into low temperature central heating systems.
So not only heat pumps, so first one is, let's say, air source heat pumps, second one is also for gas engineers, for everyone in
Yes, it's universal. So the first book, Welcome to the Wonderful World of Air Source Heat Pumps, What Kept You? The clue is obviously in the title, it's air source heat pumps. It's an introductory book to try and entice and try and support those that are looking to transition from fossil fuels to renewable technology. But the pocket guide is very much universal. The aim of the book is really to turn the thermostat down, to start lowering flow temperatures, but that's bespoke for oil boilers, liquid petroleum. It's applicable to electric heating as well as air source.
So heat source agnostic.
Exactly. So it's really just trying to get an awareness out there that if we can turn the thermostat down, ultimately we're using less energy. It's more attractive to the end user because the energy costs will start to go down as well. So it's really just trying to inform, but I promised myself it wouldn't be a second book. As I said, originally just a flip chart. Then I had the idea of working with sponsors to see if we could gather some interest in basically supporting the book so as I could give it away free. I'm probably the world's worst businessman that way. It drives my wife, who you know, quite scatty, but no, it goes back to that bigger picture about trying to give something back. That, as we've spoke about many times, it was then a case of, okay, let's do a simple equation on fabric heat loss, and then I'm thinking, want to give an example so they've got something palpable, something they can test, that underpinning knowledge. It was then a case of, but it'd be really good if we actually explained what fabric heat loss was, and then let's go a bit deeper with U values. And then it wasn't long before it was, oh, we're in trouble, we're writing another book. Really fortunate with the sponsors that we got. It was so easy to get people like Primary Pro involved, who are renowned for their heat pump insulation, into tech with their controls and filters. The guys at Ultimate Renewable Supplies were straight on board with it, and then I've been fortunate enough to have some really good friends at Ideal Heating. So we had the sponsors who were happy just with it being a quick flip book, but then I've been very, very fortunate to, over the last 3, 4, 5 years, develop good personal and working relationships with the people that have been invited on, and it was two-part. Without giving too much away, it was very much, right, okay, I want the 2 books to be very laid back, very accessible, so the language that we use is very ground level, it's conversational, and I then thought, well, instead of me spending time trying to put together what we're going to explain on pipe sizing and flow rates, I've got a good friend from Croatia who can do that very, very easily. And it very, very quickly just became a collective, a collaboration. So I'm blown away by the fact that everyone jumped on board. So we've got yourself, obviously, we've got Graham Hendra, Andrew Johnson from Ideal, we've got Kimbo Betty, we've got Rob Berridge, we've got Dave Smith, we've got Darren Bogard, we've got... who else have we got? Nathan Gamblin as well, and Paul Spence. So yeah, these are names that I've said to people before that 3 or 4 years ago I'd have been amazed if they would even reply to a random message on LinkedIn, let alone picking up the phone, chatting, supporting. And I think it gives it real weight. It gives the book real credibility, and ultimately, you and I are on the same page, pardon the pun, that literally for us to be successful in this transition to a more sustainable heating sector, collaboration's key. It can't just be what I think, it can't just be what you think, it can't just be what Rob Berridge thinks, etc, etc. It needs to be a collective action.
And actually we are missing, I don't know, tens of thousands of engineers in whole Europe, in the UK. Without collaboration, I spoke with the other guys that it's not like there is no competition, because even with us, we are still missing tens of thousands of engineers.
Yeah.
This is quite a different thing, because if you compare it to some other jobs, so everyone is like, okay, we are competitors, but here it's not like competition. It's like we need more people like this to as I mentioned a few times, you did a great job with books. I cannot even sit for 1 hour to write something, but I may be good at videos. Someone is good in explaining some other concepts. Someone can post some photo of installation on social media, and then we have circle of knowledge.
Yeah, you're absolutely 100%. Yesterday, Sunday, I was trying to put together an introduction video to the pocket guide and to the welcome book to post on socials to give a bit of aspect. That is not my strength. I spent a full day and got absolutely nowhere. It can't just be the pocket guide, it can't just be the welcome book, it can't just be your education hub, it can't just be your online training, it can't be Damon Blakemore on social media, it can't be Nathan's podcast, it can't be Rob Berridge's YouTube channel, it can't be the training that's done in centres. Every part of that is a nugget of pure gold, and if we're playing to each of our strengths but having an inclusive atmosphere as well. The gas industry, which is predominantly my background, well, just to keep it local in the west of Scotland, could be a very divisive sector where there are only so many boilers to get changed in that area, so everyone's competing against each other. But one of the real refreshing things when I get involved with renewable energy and air source heat pumps was that inclusivity, that support. It's fantastic to see, and if And if the pocket guide and what we're trying to do can try and start to spread that out across the other types of fuels and heating systems, then it's only for the better.
But what is different is that complexity of the system. So let's say gas boilers, you have high temperature. It's technology by itself, but I think you have 90% of the country covered by the gas, so really long history. Everything is more or less here. With heat pumps, we also spoke a lot about in other podcasts, in interactions. You have PV, you have batteries, you have controls, you have refrigerant part, hydronic part. This is working, different manufacturers, insulation, endless possibilities.
I think for a long time we were spoiled by the technology that we had in the gas sector. To a lot of installers, and I don't mean this as a discredit to anyone because I include myself in it, a combination boiler was a white box that went on the wall. You connected up 6 or 7 pipes to it. Very, very forgiving. Customers are very forgiving as well because they just want to touch a radiator, and if it burns their hand after a couple of seconds, they're over the moon. I used to be extremely guilty of replacing a boiler and getting the customer to go out for the day and making sure before they come back that the thermostat in the wall was turned up to 30, the flow temperature was up at 80. Customer would walk in, it would be, oh my God, Ian, the heat would almost melt you. You are a genius. No, I'm not. But that's what we wanted in the UK. We wanted to be wowed by uncomfortable heat. What we need to do is we need to move to a different psyche, not only from designers, installers, commissioning engineers, but also the public as well. Because it would be a really hard sell still to consumers in the UK for that customer to go out for the day and come back in and go, oh my God, Ian, it's mildly comfortable in here. This is quite unique. It's 21 degrees in here and I feel comfortable, because we wanted that wow factor. What it led to, Mario, was engineers starting to become lazy. And again, I completely include myself in that. We didn't think about pipe sizes, we didn't think about temperature differentials, we didn't think about flow rates, we didn't think about pump sizing, because these combi boilers did everything for us. I wrote about it in the first book when I was first introduced to them. I'd came away from kind of frontline installation and servicing and moved into an operations role. And we were doing installations for the Scottish Government, a contract that's still running where people with certain circumstances can get free heating upgrades, etc., and the government subsidise that. And my boss, who was an electrician, came to me and said, the Scottish Government are trying to push renewable energy, Ian. This was about 14 years ago, and I said, well, what does that mean? And they said, oh, we're going to start to install air source heat pumps. To which my reply was, what the F is an air source heat pump? Because I'd never heard of these things. And he said to me, he said, oh, it's a box you put in your front garden and you get heat from fresh air. Okay, it's 5 degrees outside, it's Scotland. How the hell are these things going to work up here? And I absolutely hated them. I hated them with a passion. It was not love at first sight by any stretch of the imagination, because I was in charge of the technical surveys, so I was having to start thinking about things like heat loss, things like system design, things like pipe sizing, things like flow rates, things like sizing emitters, sizing the heat pump correctly, stuff that I hadn't done since I was in college about 15, 16 years previous to that. And it was a real light bulb moment for me. I remember it was an elderly couple in Aberdeen, much more north of here, and they got the grant. They had a gas boiler, but they adopted for this air source heat pump. I did a bit of product training with a manufacturer who shall remain nameless. I hadn't done a formal heat pump qualification. I couldn't remember how to do design, and I remember this poor man saying, and are these good systems, Ian? Because I'm a apprehensive about it. I'm going, they're wonderful systems. These are wonderful. This is the future. You will never regret the installation of an air source heat pump. In my mind, I'm thinking, I don't even know if these things work. And I haven't got a clue what I'm doing.
But fridge is a heat pump. Air conditioning is a heat pump, but you don't have so much air conditioners in the UK. What I can realize, I'm here for 10 days.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like a common thing. In Croatia, it's like a common thing, but here probably you didn't have so hot summers or in the history.
We are very much behind the curve, particularly when it comes to air and domestic environment. In the commercial sector, you'll see them left, right, and centre. No one knows what they are. Well, the majority of us don't know what they are, but they don't realise that we've been dealing with heat pumps for God knows how long. When I used to train installers to upskill into air source heat pumps, I would say to my class, who here's got an air source heat pump? And there'd be no hands going up, and you go, really? Would you keep your beer in to keep it cold? Well, I keep it in the fridge. You've got a heat pump, right? It's not new technology. It's not something that we shouldn't be embracing. My journey with them was a light bulb moment when that first one actually worked. I went up to do a quality control on it to sign the job off, and I was standing, I can still picture it was a eureka moment. I was standing in the middle of the gentleman's hallway and I felt comfortably warm in the winter.
It was like magic.
Yeah, it was. It was like I'd just discovered fire, and I opened up his hot water tap. There was hot water on demand, and in my mind I'm going, wow, these things actually work. And the gentleman, God bless him, saying, oh, you were so right, Ian, you were so right, it's fantastic. I was, there was never any doubt. And as I've said before, it was not love at first sight. It definitely took a few dates and a few romantic dinners before I actually started to think, I like this, and I like the fact that I'm having to think again. And I think in the UK, kind of going back to the original point, was that we had a very almost niche group of engineers that were pushing their own skill sets and trying to drive. That's starting ripple effects now. So you've got organisations out there that are offering support, there's funding for training, etc. But when you're saying about the 10,000 engineers,
so I think 300,000 missing in Europe. It's like never-ending journey.
We were both down at Installer, the Installer show last week, and I did a panel thing, and after it I was talking to someone and they said, what do you think the answer is to get these engineers? And my response was slow down, which seems to buck the trend. But I'm very conscious that we're on a tightrope with the reputation of this technology.
Yes.
Whereas if we don't have a supported, informed, mentored workforce who actually know what they're doing, then we could create reputational damage that might be irreparable. There's good guys out there, they're willing to support. There's training out there which is better in some areas, not so in some, but we need to get away from, again, you and I and Nathan Gamblin have spoke about it, and other educators as well, that you can go on a course tomorrow in Scotland and do a 3/4 day qualification to different levels of quality. But what we get with that is we think that we've got people walking out the door with a certificate of competency.
But they cannot fit heat pump. I spoke with the engineer. They said the courses are good, and it's good, you need to learn, but still you need to be used to
only the start.
Yeah, so many things. And my advice is always, I even don't know how to fit it. I know everything about them, but find someone who is for long enough in the industry, try to help this company, try to see what is going on. And as you said, slow down. I think there are two different pathways. So one is certification bodies in each country. Another one is learning by itself. So you need to learn how to learn and how to be passionate about that. We also spoke a lot about this. So how to train all of these trainers. So
Yes.
I started to, and manufacturers, oh, you need to give a training. I'm giving a training and I'm learning. But then you realize, Nathan is talking a lot about this, science of learning. So it's completely different science. How you find this? Because you have huge experience with a lot of these installers coming to your training center. How can you explain, if someone wants to be a good trainer, a good educator, how to find this passion and this, to solve the science of learning behind that?
Yeah, so I've been in training now for about 12 years and it frustrates the life out of me. There's some facilities out there, there's some trainers, you and I probably know most of them in the UK, that understand the philosophy, the psychology, the science of learning. But unfortunately, and I've experienced myself, there's too many facilities that, well, to give you an example, right, in the UK, let's say we've got a training centre that can deliver gas qualifications, okay, ran by gas engineers, so at least we're getting there with that. But we see an opportunity where we want to start to deliver air source heat pumps. We've heard there's a lot of money to be made, blah blah blah. So the process in the UK is, to simplify it, is you would go to your awarding body and say, we want to deliver air source heat pumps. The awarding body would charge you a couple of quid to give you the scope extension, the centre pack. They would then send it out, and basically what it does is it tells you what provisions you need, which is an operational heat pump that can have the final connections installed, and you put that together, you send it to the awarding body. You would then need an assessor that's got the qualification, which is dead easy to gain. Then all of a sudden you can start welcoming candidates. So you've got gas engineers that don't know the intricacies of air source heat pumps. The awarding body will give them training material. We'll talk about the quality of that in private, but they don't know the subject. They could get to the stage where they have perfected what's in the digital presentation, right? But they can't field the questions. They can't support, they can't. So what we end up doing is something that, again, going back to Nathan, who we're good friends with, we lecture. All we do is follow what's up on the screen. I know a candidate recently that said he was on a course, and any time there was a question on a low temperature heating design course, the trainer said, I'm only here to deliver the slides. I'm not here to answer questions.
It's hard to learn, and
so we need to impassion the trainers, but we also need to target the awarding bodies as well. I think they've got a responsibility to play as well, because it's great saying we need 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 engineers, but if it's just a conveyor belt of cash for training centres, we're not solving the problem of the bigger picture. We're certainly not helping the engineers. We're actually putting them in a situation where we're telling them that they're competent. In my opinion, and you and I have spoke about this, there's a big difference between competency and qualification. They mean two different things. Having a certificate doesn't mean you're competent. Competency comes through experience. You can't buy experience in a training centre.
Yes.
The last training centre I worked in, we built a house in the middle of the training centre to replicate as realistic a working environment as we can. But we didn't have the angry customer. We didn't have the dog that wants to bite you on the bum as you're trying to put your flexi connections on the back. We don't have the driving rain. These are all real world experiences that you can't replicate. So my first piece of advice to anyone doing low temperature heating design courses or heat pumps would be buy these two books. But then after that, would reach out to someone who's experienced. Go and shadow them. You spoke to Ian Chapman. Ian done exactly the same. He's happy to go out and shadow people, get some experience for free, because he would much rather do that than do the quote for the air source heat pump and go out and actually do the end user a disservice by not giving them the experience that they deserve. So there's a huge big picture when it comes to education.
I think also awarding bodies and so on, but they are all people like you and me. So we need to change all of these things. As we are sometimes critics. Nathan is usually critic, but there are a lot of good people out there.
Oh yeah.
Also in manufacture. So I am always talking, let's say, with manufacturer background, excellent guys, excellent engineers, but really, job itself is really huge. Sales, engineers, end users, marketing department, awarding bodies, this and that, and you need to play between.
Yeah,
it's somehow hard. It's not like one dimensional work.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's complex. It's very complex to work with these awarding bodies, as I have done in the past. It can't be a sledgehammer. You're not going to get anywhere just saying that everything's terrible and that Mario and I know much more than you. And we're going to tell you what to do. It goes back to that collaboration as well. That's why it's so refreshing when you speak to trainers and as you know, I reached out to Hell a lot to create this model that we've been talking about for a long time, and you can generally tell within 2 minutes of a conversation whether you're talking to the right person. And it's not all doom and gloom, but what we need to do is we need to fight the great fight with the good people that we've got. We need to take two at a time and start trying to, because there's engineers out there, there's tons of engineers out there that want to be better and want to do better. I don't have all the answers. People
Maybe
say
another one.
People say you wrote a couple of books and there's probably more to come. My wife will kill me if she sees this, but I'm still learning.
Just trying to share your perspective and experience.
You and I have just been to probably one of the best exhibitions in the UK currently for networking and learning down at Birmingham at the Installer Show. The passion that you see there is infectious. The engineers that flooded that place wanting to talk to these people, wanting to talk to these developers, wanting to talk to them. I mean, you mentioned product training. Product training came on, it's night and day. I used to go on product training as an installer years ago, and really all it was them trying to sell you a controller or telling you that their product was the best, buy another boiler from us. Now it's much more universal. I've delivered product training for companies like My Energy and Daikin.
Even Ideal, I was in the training center. They're covering everything. So it's really good for me to see that manufacturer is taking care of everything, because they have huge training centers.
You met Ross Kirkland from Mitsubishi, installer.
Yeah. Yes.
Ross, hugely passionate. They've got the kind of virtual reality platform. Yes. You've got Ideal, who are the stuff that Andrew Johnson's doing there, and the rest of his team. He's got some of the best guys, some that I've known well, some that I've worked with in the past, guys like Andy Corey. They're trying to push the boundaries with not only state-of-the-art facilities, but also this hybrid mix. So you've got like the Expert Academy with the stuff that Jonathan Ward does. You've got the stuff that Daikin are doing. Daikin have got 3 levels of product training. So you've got the level 1, which I used to deliver for them, which I was proud to do, which was really just the initial turning the system on and basic field settings, to then their commissioning course, and then they've got a 2-day diagnostic course. All of these courses, whether it's Ideal, Mitzi, whether it's Daikin and the rest of them, these are all free. These are all free. And a lot of these skills that you would learn would transfer across to different manufacturers as well. So as I used to say to my students when I had them for 5 days, and I would love to have had them for 10, 15, etc., was when you leave with that certificate, it's just the start. It's not the end. You're literally clinging with your fingers on it to the first rung of the ladder. You've not even got your first foot on it. This is a start. But we need to send these people away from the right trainers, where those trainers say, right, okay, this is just the start, but if you need anything, let me know. I'll support you, I'll point you in the right direction, we'll guide you, we'll continue mentoring. There's too many that are too quick just to say, okay, you've paid your invoice, just phone me when you need another course. We need to do better than that.
Yes, but it's also hard because you have a lot of experienced installers who have huge experience, but they have a lot of job to do, so they cannot teach in the classrooms. But we need more of these guys.
Yeah.
More of these guys in the classroom to show, okay, this is hydronic, this is electrical part, this is refrigerant, we are good at refrigerant part, this is how you will replace the compressor. But it's huge because, as you said, we are moving too fast, maybe it's too fast.
Yeah, years ago in the UK, we had a real boom with solar power, where it was the next big thing, and a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon. A lot of people were missold, misinformed, led down a garden path, and the reputational damage is probably only recently started to dilute, where people are starting to trust the technology as well. A few years ago, our Prime Minister, I don't know if you remember, Boris Johnson, made a statement that we'd be installing 600,000 air source heat pumps each year. It would amaze you how busy my phone got at the training centre that I ran at the time, where it was, Ian, do you do heat pump qualifications? Yeah. When's the next one? 2 weeks. Is there space? Yeah. Can I book on it? Yeah. Take a deposit? Great. See you in 2 weeks. Right, great. Thanks, Ian. Ian, see, well, I've got you. What is an air source heat pump? Right, okay, you've just paid money towards a £1,000 course and you don't know what a heat pump is. No, but I've heard I'm going to make a fortune off them. These are the guys that, I get it, we're not doing this work day in, day out on a voluntary basis, but not everything can be driven by finance.
Yes, we all need to learn money. It's of course, business must be sustainable.
Yeah, we've all got bills to pay.
Yes, of course, but still, I realized I'm giving a lot of this free, so it's not like free, but you made a lot of friends in the industry, also with installers, and you help each other. So I cannot explain it, but of course, some things you need to learn, but a lot of these things, videos, also these books and so on, it's like you are giving something back to society. This is how I can see this.
Yeah.
This thing.
I think you and I are very, very similar, and there's a few others out there, and I mean this with the greatest respect. There's a good few idiots out there, and you and I are two of them. Where
yeah, of course. Ask my wife.
We produce content and we give it away free of charge. Now, I've spoke to numerous people in the past that have said, what are you doing? Monetize it, make money from it. So you've got people on LinkedIn, like Graham Hendra, who does his Sunday blog, which is I look forward to every week. So do you probably. You started producing stuff online. You've got the phenomenal stuff that Rob Berridge does. Mm-hmm. You've got the podcasts that are out there, Dom Eves, Nathan Gamblin. You've got the guys that are putting stuff
Heat
out
Pumps
on
UK,
YouTube.
Paul Spence,
yeah, you've got the
27,000 people.
Yeah, and it's a strange thing. This goes back to what I said earlier, that the gas industry in the UK can be quite cutthroat. There's a Facebook group who I won't name, but engineers will go on and say, for example, I'm at a boiler and it's got a fault code F13, looking for a bit of support, and it's like, if you don't know what F13 is, you shouldn't be in front of that boiler. Yeah. The guy's asking a question, he's wanting to learn. Whereas Paul's platform with Heat Pumps UK, I've mentioned this numerous times and people agree with me, is so inclusive. Yes, you get the odd post where somebody's a bit disgruntled because they've not got any heating and hot water, but really it's
communication
a
level.
Yeah.
And communication level is...
And you've met Paul. I like Paul. He's collaborated with the book. He doesn't suffer fools. He controls the channel. So if it gets in any shape aggressive or nasty, he's very, very quick to remember every one of the group rules. But we need more people like us. I mean, it goes back to what we called it before, the mad squad, right? Yeah, we're a bit mad. I'm giving away 3,000 books free of charge to trainees, colleges, training centres, engineers that are wanting to expand their skill set. I would be a finance director's worst nightmare, because why give it away when you could sell it? Because ultimately I want to do what you want to do, what Ideal want to do, what Nathan wants to do, which Graham wants to do.
So no one ever asks where I'm inside, so it's like, let's do something.
Absolutely. And this was, I mean, the projects that you and I have spoke about in the past as well, about just sharing knowledge and divulging skills that we've got and techniques that we've got. These are techniques that you, I, and the rest of the people involved have taken decades to develop.
Yeah, previously. This is the online world. What someone is complaining, but I like this because I will not be in the Edinburgh if it's not online world.
Yeah.
I think we need to combine. So we are now also doing a new platform, educational, but everyone is talking about this upscaling. For sure, you cannot upscale only in person because you can be at your city and how many engineers? Maybe 100 per year, 200. With online world, you can expand. But it's hard in online world to make it interactive. We are now trying to make this, but what is your experience and feedback from the guys in training about interaction? This is the most important part of the training.
Training has came so far in a relatively short space of time, but now is a pivotal time, if you ask me. When I entered the training industry, as I said, about 12 years ago, it was a training centre that I used to go to do my gas qualifications. And as I said, one of the most revered in the UK, the owner of the company, who's passed away now, rest in peace, was one of the most respected trainers in the UK. So I was very, very lucky to be taken under his wing and mentored from someone who had never stood up and spoke to more than one person in my life to ultimately running and building training centres. And our training at the time was very training manual and British standard and iGEM and gas regs based, where it would be, okay, we might draw a scenario up on the whiteboard and then we're going to read a bit of a British standard and then you're going to do a short multiple choice exercise on that to get your way, and then we might have a bit of a discussion and then we'll read to you again and then we'll do another bit and then you'll get read another extract. And I was sitting there, Mario, going, this is groundbreaking stuff. This is the cutting edge of training. And I was really fortunate in that George Loudon mentored me on that side and then really gave me full autonomy with how I wanted to train. I was actually thinking about it, getting the training here today. When we used to train domestic gas safety, we used to draw a little house and we'd draw a little boiler, and then we would draw walls where all the vents had to go for the ventilation. And we had an office administrator who's still my wife's best friend and was at our wedding. I said, it'd be amazing if you could like put something on the projector so like the house shape went up onto the whiteboard. And she's gone, what, like PowerPoint? And I'm going, what is PowerPoint? What is this magical thing that you talk about? So she literally went on to PowerPoint and put a slide with a square with a roof. The next thing it's directed on, and I've just drew the boiler onto it, and I'm going, wow, this is blowing my mind. And I'm going, Charlotte, it'd be amazing if, see the walls that I draw, imagine if they just appeared. And she went, what, like lines with animations? And I'm going, don't tell me that's a thing as well. She's going, yeah, 2 minutes later she's got this thing, and my mind was blown, right? And it was my first, I know I'm like a dinosaur, really my first introduction to technology and what we can do. I've always been an advocate, and a strong advocate up until recently, of classroom-based training. I was very much an advocate that it can't be substituted. We can't replace it. We need to stay away from online. We need to stay away from this, that, and the next thing. And the holy trinity is just what goes on in that classroom. And I developed techniques for the classroom to make it engaging and different mediums and stuff like that. And I was really, really proud of how my training courses developed. I've changed. So in the last, I would say probably about the last 6 months, I think we need a hybrid approach. I think there are different solutions for different angles. I'm working on stuff just now where we wouldn't need a trainer. It would be an avatar that explains it, and that's fine for that bubble of training. Then the amazing stuff that you're doing, because you told me to say that, where
Yeah, it's paid. It's paid.
I'm kidding.
This is why he put these books here.
The amazing stuff that you're doing online and the reputation that you're growing, a bit of the classroom, the product stuff that we're doing as well. I think we could look at a really unique approach where, well, for example, did we mention Kimbo earlier as one of the collaborators?
Yeah, probably, yes.
So Kimbo Betty's just renowned trainer in the UK, phenomenal passion for better standards, has got a hybrid course just now where it's 1 day classroom based, and it's roughly 1 day learning input time online. And I think we need to be versatile. We need to look at the market. You said earlier there's busy gas engineers out there, there's busy, so
you know what was also our idea, so you're on the phone so all the time, so you are busy, you came home, maybe if we could put something interactive on the phone, on the tablet, you will, as you said, you will have some online thing. Okay, you can learn something.
We need something that's on demand.
Yeah.
So it's like,
but combination also, because look, I'm from Croatia. Why not someone from the UK or from France looking for me? I can look at your book. I'm in Croatia. This is what we need. Of course, locally we need the guys, and you need to learn locally. Yeah. This is for sure. But this is, as you explained, so you can go on Ideal Heating Academy, put my course, your book, Kimbo's course, this and that, and all of these pieces will make something in the puzzle, and you will, as you learn more, you will know more things.
Yeah.
So it's not like exclusive thing.
I've trained, let's just say, hundreds of engineers and upskilled them into air source heat pumps. My course, I would always open with an introduction and meet the people that are in my group. What I want to do is, and we need to get personable, you know that, you need them to feel comfortable. But ultimately I want to gauge what their understanding is, what their appreciation of the technology is, what their experience is. And you would always get this varying level. So if you've got 6 engineers, male and female, in the class, and you say, okay, tell me a bit about yourself, what your experience is, where you're from, and ultimately, what do you know about air source heat pumps? And rarely you would have, it would happen, you would have a person in the group that would say, yep, my name's John and I've been installing heat pumps for the last 15 years. Never had the qualification, but I want to go down the MCS route, so here I am. And at the other side of the scale, you would have someone saying, my name's Sharon and I don't know what an air source heat pump is. My employer's told me to come and do this course.
How hard is it to have such a difference?
Oh, it's so hard. So my first session, for example, that took us up to morning tea break, really didn't go into the intricacies of heat pumps. It was more about team building and breaking down some barriers within the group, getting them talking, getting them laughing, which I think is really important as well, because if you know, as much as anyone as a trainer, if you can get someone to relax, they'll talk, they'll open up to you.
Yes, usually they are, a lot of them are introverts, so
yeah,
you need to push them.
And that's where a lot of the mediums that you can use, there's some platforms that I started to introduce that actually allowed you to interact even in a classroom but have anonymity. So if you're anxious about speaking out, you can speak to your smart TV that you've got, where the question would appear on the screen.
Yes.
And people can do it through their phone. But it would be very, very kind of more about the net zero journey that we're on and the part that they can play, etc., and just getting a bit of warmth in the class. But what I would always then do is target at tea break the experienced person and say, right, okay, we're here for 4/5 days, you're highly experienced in it. Just to let you know, when we kick off into the actual training programme, we're starting down at ground zero. So we need to start with what is an air source heat pump, how the hell do they work, etc. Vapour compression cycle, the components, etc. But I would always try and deliver it in a way that was still engaging to them. And I would say to them, listen, get involved. Start to talk about your experiences. Help me train the group. But what I think we could do is something that's a hybrid approach that could solve that problem. So if we had something like what we've discussed, where these engineers at night could opt into this on-demand course where we could do the 4 stages of the compression cycle, we could do this, we could do that. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily need a trainer because it's really only information.
Self-led learning.
And as I said, at that stage, when we're talking to the group, it's, excuse me, did everyone engage with the online learning? Yep, great. We can kick off about 2 hours ahead of schedule because we've already got everyone on that play. Yeah, John's up there, he's been installing for 15 years, but we've not got someone down here anymore. And what that would allow us to do is do more within that time frame that we've got. Because the biggest problem we've got in the UK, mate, is everything is driven by, I was going to say a cartel, but it's very competitive from a business point of view in the training sector.
It's everywhere.
Because some engineers, unfortunately, due to time constraints, finances, just want the certificate.
Yes, it's hard. You have a business, costs are high.
So it's very hard for me to say, okay, we have got an air source heat pump course and qualification. It lasts 15 days and it is £2,000.
And not only this 2,000, in these 15 days they are losing 10,000.
Yes, so you could triple that and say, and then they say to me, but such and such training centre down the street does it in 3 days and it's the same certificate.
Yes.
Yeah, but you'll learn a lot more here. Yeah, but it's like 500 quid down there.
Maybe what you mentioned, this combination, I talked with the guys also on installer. So this online course, okay, I have online platform, you can learn here and then come to in-person training. Everyone is on the more or less same level and we can spend time in interaction, because in person I also realized always missing time. Because you always want to share some experience, which is the best way to learn. But then you cannot say, okay, vapor compression cycle is this and that.
Yeah, and I think as well, you've probably done them before. I've certainly done them in the past, where you've done training for companies and corporations where you're literally just hitting the space bar just to get through it. and do the 2 questions at the end, because it's mind-numbing. Obviously, the stuff that you're putting together is phenomenal. I think that could really plug a gap with what we're doing. But we just need to make sure that section could definitely be delivered online. That bit could definitely be delivered as a hybrid mix, but that bit we really need a classroom. But if we can purge as much of that out there, but I have a lot of training centres in particularly in the UK that come to me and say, listen, would you be interested in putting together some training material for me? And that's my passion, that's what I love doing. And I said, yep, absolutely. But too many I've spoke to about this hybrid mix have went, right, okay, this is a game changer, because right now my course is 4 days long. So if we can do about half a day online, I can reduce my course down to 3.5 days. And my argument is, no, you're missing the point. Keep it at the 4 days and do more with them, and have a more confident, more rounded engineer that's leaving at the end of those 4 days. It can't all be about monopolising. It's like there's too many facilities, and I've unfortunately spoke to too many of them in the past, where it's, right, okay, Mario's doing that course in 2 days, so we need to do it in a day and a half, because we'll get more customers. Mario is doing it at 500 quid, we need to do it at 350 quid. All you're doing is devaluing the experience.
Yes, and what we mentioned about free stuff, usually you don't realize, especially if government is giving something for free, it's not free.
No,
someone
it's
is
not
investing
free.
the time, the money, and so on.
There's nothing free.
There's no free lunch. At the end, 2 questions connected to each other. How to upskill all of these trainers? So train the trainer concept, if you say about we need more trainers also who will deliver that. And also with this technology is excellent, but you need to learn technology also. I feel stuck with myself with 10 different programs. You need to make animations, you need to make presentation, you need to think about all of this different skill set, and we want trainers to be educated enough and to have science of learning and to teach all of these thousands of engineers how to bridge that gap.
You left it
million dollar question in 1 hour.
You left the 2 difficult ones to the end. In the UK, we talk about train the trainer. Again, you and I have spoke about this in the past. I spoke to numerous people about this at Installer. I think that we're missing something. I think we need something that's train the trainer to train, not train the trainer to deliver a package. We need these trainers to appreciate the whole bubble around training.
The concept around.
How do we get people to buy into it? I don't think we can. I think without alienating friends that I've got in the industry, awarding bodies do have a part to play in this. I think we need a stricter control over what training centres are actually doing when the classroom door is closed. You see the horror stories online about experiences, etc., and as a passionate trainer, it really kills me. I think, as romantic as it sounds, I think we really need to just keep trying to fight the good fight. If we can get enough people on board, because there are those people out there. Perhaps what we need to do is have an organic approach where it's, you know what, you should really go to that centre because those guys are passionate, they're enthusiastic, it was fun, it was engaging, it was exactly what I needed to get, and they've put me in touch with this person, they've done this, they've done that. You've got people out there that are fighting the good fight. We just need more of them.
And to slow down a little bit.
Slow down a little bit, yeah, and it sounds counterproductive because everyone that I speak to says we need an army, yes. But you can't just give someone a gun and call them a soldier. It's you know that I've got the world's worst analogies. That I don't know where that one came from, but it's true. It can't just be there's your certificate, there's your pliers, and there's your antifreeze valves. You are now a heat pump crusader. There's a bigger picture than that. In the UK, we're very good at spreading doom and gloom, in my experience. So you're still seeing, because we're only fitting, last year was best part of 60,000 heat pumps compared to 1.7 plus million boilers. The bad experiences always come to the fore.
Of course.
Because no one likes posting online that they think their heating system's great. They want to post that they think their heating system's flawed and it doesn't work.
The best heating system is that if you don't know that it exists.
I say that installer, I think the best central heating system on the planet is the one that the customer doesn't need to engage with, because guess what, it just works.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You don't need to fiddle about with it. So yeah, I think it needs me, you and the rest of the mad squad to keep poking and keep pushing and keep creating what we're creating, getting people to buy into it. That was the first question. What was the second one? I don't know.
How to train the trainer and all of these tools.
Oh yeah.
Because you need to know also how to use these tools. I'm spending a lot of time just tweaking out between animations, drawings, iPads, smart boards. We'll be back in a conversation in a few seconds. Just one reminder. We launched a new online educational platform, Heat Pump Bootcamp. You can learn at your own pace on your PC, mobile phone or tablet. You will find a lot of interesting videos, assessments, interaction and quizzes. Feel free to reach out and to check. Link is in the description below.
Do you know, it's interesting, you and I spoke about this earlier, and I spent all day yesterday, I probably didn't even get past the research stage of how I could create a promo video for my two books to put online that had some content in it. I'm very low level knowledge when it comes to AI, but I'm learning a lot about different platforms and the power that it's got behind it.
It will help a lot, yeah.
Perhaps, I actually thought yesterday, do you know what, sod this, I'm going to look at college courses on how to create these videos. But this goes back to what I said before we started talking about collaborations. It was always me. I need to be able to do this. I need to know how to do it.
Someone can make this with AI.
Yeah. What was it? Is it Steve Jobs from Apple said that we don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people to tell us what to do.
This is the end goal.
It can't be tunnel vision all the time. Probably the problem that you and I have got, amongst other things, is if we want a website designer, it's going to cost money. If we want this, and ultimately we're giving a lot of the stuff away free. So it's
I have my wife, and you have who is doing all of these things.
I knew you were going to bring that up. Yeah,
all of these things.
We need to stay married as well.
Yeah,
it's as hopelessly romantic as it is. Let's keep fighting the good fight and keep learning.
Yes, thank you. It was, I think, around 1 hour, maybe more, but maybe we need 2 more hours.
I think so, mate.
Thank you.
Love that.
Thank you. Just for the end, if you are training center in the UK, probably you can receive the book for free. There will be a lot. You send a lot of these books on installer, and you want to give away how many?
Yep. So the pocket guide, the sponsorship will allow us to give away the book, which is 200 pages in depth. Originally a flip book. We gave away 500 to installers at the installer show. We'll soon be announcing how we intend to distribute another 2,500 to colleges and training centres, completely free of charge.
And on your web page they can buy.
Yes. It's very competitively priced, as is the welcome book. So visit the website, check out, give us a follow on LinkedIn, and yeah, join the fight.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you. Thank you everyone for watching this podcast. Check our other videos from UK series and see you.